Louisiana's finest. I say, who that? R.I.P. Tom Benson. Shout out to the whole Who That Nation. Now who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. I say who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. Ooh, who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. I say who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. You got that fever? Yeah, yeah, that fever for the flavor. Got that flavor? Yeah, yeah, that flavor for the funk. You got that fever? Yeah, yeah, that fever for the flavor. Got that flavor? Yeah, yeah, that flavor for the funk. I got that fever, my people. See, we not equal, my people. I'm like that dog saint underneath the steeple, my people. Got Drew Brees, he the feature, and our defense the sequel. The D-line and linebackers, man, they coming to reach ya. Make enemies some believers, cause we overachievers. DBs see 50-50 balls and we call them keepers. Y'all can follow this leader, cause Sean Payton will teach ya.
Saints Talk listeners, what's up? We are back for another week of Saints Talk. I'm your host, Kevin Washington. I'm here with Nick Underhill. Nick, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for asking. That's
Yeah.
you know, only person that asked me that today. Thank you.
Thank
you, man. I
Sure,
appreciate
man.
that.
No problem.
I'm doing
No
good. I'm
That's
doing
good.
good. I'm
That's
doing
good to hear.
good. I'm good. Yeah. Man, it feels like a good pod day. I don't know. You have those days where, we love the people. We like to talk football, but some days you got a little bit more energy than others. So this is one of those days. So we're happy to be here. Thank you guys for joining us. Shout out to the live stream and shout out to everyone who needs to get their taxes in order.
Absolutely.
We got some advice for you guys. Nick.
Shout out to our guy, Daniel Sant. Are you a business owner needing some guidance with your daily accounting, or just an individual that would like to have better tax advice? Daniel Sant CPA can help get your finances in order. They provide relevant accounting information, detailed analysis, and clear communication in a timely manner. Call today, 318-321-2765. That's 318-321-2765, or visit santcpa.com. And also shout out to our guys at Firehouse Subs, always showing love. Vets location, get out there, get yourself a sub, get something to eat, show love to those who show us love. And that's it. Those are our people, man. Those are the people that power this and make this possible.
I know, man. I gotta give Mr. Sant a call. I was talking to you yesterday. You was like, man, get up in there. So he's about to be holding us both down pretty soon. So
hey, we're all going to be financially literate, man. That's the goal for everybody listening to this.
That's our goal. Forget football.
Yeah, that's it. Financial literacy. That's it.
Hey, I'm here for it.
Up. Yeah.
Let you guys know, like Nick gave me like a 2-cent a week raise, so like I got to change the taxes up now. It's a lot of the numbers are different.
Man, I guarantee you're the highest paid podcaster in the state of Louisiana.
No, that'd be you.
Well, I mean, person getting paid to do a pod, I guarantee you're the highest paid in the state of Louisiana.
Hey,
guarantee.
Man, look,
guarantee.
You won't find a better, I'm just saying. And Trip, if you listen to this, stay out of this. It's between me and Nick. Trying to break up a happy home. All right, let's get into some football stuff. Like I said again, shout out to Chad. I'm just gonna let you guys know from the rip, NewOrleans.Football /subscribe. Everything is there. The post game, the film review is already out. Nick put out something about the trade deadline that passed, and the Saints didn't make a move. We're going to talk about that in the pod, but there's some guys in there who, names may have got thrown around, and we'll see if Nick is willing to share that on this pod. If not, then go sign up for the site and read the article. Also, 2 extra pods a week. So we got this pod that you guys can listen to, and then we have 2 other pods. The post-game pod full of hot takes. We love it. In the Friday pregame game preview pod. So check those out because it's a lot of stuff happening here, and this is just a start. So let's get into some topics. Trade deadline ended today at 4:00 Eastern time, if I remember correctly. And there were some reports about the Saints potentially making some moves for some wide receivers. Some names were thrown around. We'll get into some of those guys. Some of the stuff is public. Some of it is not. But just your thoughts on them not making a move, and is this a missed opportunity? And what does this say about the team that they did not make a move for a player for during the trade deadline?
I don't know what it says about the team. We'll start at the end first. I'm not sure what it says about the team because you don't know really what was available, and maybe just the right opportunity wasn't available. Maybe there really weren't opportunities to get better. I know OBJ's name was thrown out there by
Right.
Kimberly Martin from ESPN,
Martin.
and you never know really what that entails. Is it a call? Hey, what's Mike? Or I'm sorry, is OBJ available? Oh, okay, that's what pick you want. Well, what if you take on 13 million of the 15 million of his salary? Oh, you want this? Okay, cool, bye. Like that could be the extent of it, or it could be a deep conversation. You never really know like how these things are characterized, and it's it's tough to say.
Yeah.
So like a more realistic deal, I know there were a few. We got a couple names up on the site. You want to know the names? You can go on the site. There were a few more realistic ones, and I just think circumstances happened to where they didn't become available where they were expected to become available. And among those realistic targets, I know that there was a effort to get them. So I don't know if it says anything about the team other than a trade didn't really come together, and you can't force something that isn't there. I mean, it's just there's always all these rumors and talk about the trade deadline, and then nothing ever happens because no one really wants to give up their players mid-season. I mean,
Yeah.
and injuries and other things happen to where maybe even if you want to, you can't. And I think teams got to be careful about how they tank too. You can't.
Yeah, man.
You don't want to create a whole team of people reacting like Brandon Cooks did when Mark Ingram got
What's
traded.
your thoughts on tanking? Just aside, like it, if you're a GM and say a generational talent is sitting there at number one, and you're the Lions GM, right? And you see another team that's sucking as bad as you this year. Like, how do you approach that? Do you believe in that, or do you believe in like I'm playing to win every game, and we'll let those cards fall where they may?
I think you got to approach every game the right way, and I think you can maybe lose smartly in a way that doesn't alienate your players or undermine the culture and make people miserable. Um, I think you can just be cautious with injuries. I think that's one way to do it. I think if you're close enough to it that you can maybe tank a game or two at the end to be safe. And I don't think that you're going to lose your locker room or undermine your culture. But usually when you're a bad team, you're a new coach or you're a coach at the end of it, and or you're a coach at the end of it, and your team's super bad. You're getting fired, so you aren't going to live to see that pick. And if you're a coach at the beginning of it, you want to establish a culture, and you need to be careful about how you're going through that. I mean, there aren't a lot of Mike Tomlin probably isn't going to be in a situation. Sean Payton's probably usually not going to be in a situation
Yeah.
where they're going for the number one pick. And those are the guys that I think have the leeway to actually maybe purposely be
Tank
bad. But
and
and there's enough skins on the wall to where you aren't going to lose your locker room or lose your job. A lot of people don't have that luxury. So maybe you get to the end of it, if you win, you're not getting Jameis Winston. If you lose, you are getting Jameis Winston. So you pull your guys out at halftime and lose to the Saints on purpose.
Tampa did
That
that. Yeah.
I think that's the way you can do that. But I think in general, you got to be really, really careful about how you kind of go about doing that and not undermine your team too much. And maybe you can trade your fourth wide receiver, but you trade wide receiver 1 or 2, like people start looking at you a little bit weird. And I think
Yeah.
you just got to be really careful about how you go about that.
Yeah. I think I'm looking at it from a player perspective, right? So, you gave kind of like maybe a front office or a coach's perspective, and I think that's a fair take. As a player, I think if I'm in a locker room and I see that this team is trying to tank, then they lost me. Like
Right, that's what I'm saying. You gotta be careful
yeah,
about the
I'm out.
culture. Yeah.
Because every time you step on that field, right? Every time you step on the field, like you can get hurt, right? Your career you're basically, if you're an NFL player, every snap is a chance for your career to end. Like literally. So if you're on a team and they're not trying to win, then yeah, I don't want to be there. I'm asking for a trade, and so from a player's perspective, I definitely think that, it's not something I would want to be part of. As a coach, I think I would still struggle with it as a coach because if I'm coaching a team and I'm trying to tell, like I had some guys on my team last year who I was trying to tank with, and now I'm trying to win this year, that's a hard sell, right? That's a little bit hard sell. And I know it's a business and stuff like that, but when I just look at the Saints and I see how they play, like them dudes are trying to win. Like you can tell, like winning is the culture right here. And
So are the
so
Lions. I mean, the Lions can't win a game, but you can tell they're playing extremely hard every single week.
yeah,
And there's a good culture there. They don't have to do anything to tank, but if you start undermining that, You know what I mean? If they start winning a couple games and you're like, hey, like, oh no, we want the first pick, and you want to do that, I think you're setting yourself back for years. I don't think you're getting the locker room back in. So if you get people to buy into your team like the way they are with Dan Campbell, and then you hit the brakes, you're losing them, and you're never getting that back. You're never getting that back. And
He need to buy some knees though. He need to go buy some knees of some other players though.
those dudes love him though, and you can just tell. You watch him play. I don't know if you've seen them play this year, but like it's hard not to like, you can just kind of feel the emotion of that team.
Yeah.
And it's hard not to kind of get sucked into that a little bit.
I root for him every week. I root for him every week.
Just the way they play, it's you can see the effort there. They don't look like a winless team.
Yeah, I agree. They definitely playing. He said they don't have to try to tank.
Well, they don't. I mean, they're trying to win. Those guys can't win a game, man.
They're bad, man. They're bad. Quarterback up and down the roster.
All the luck in the world is against them. They're losing on record-setting field goal. It's just
crazy,
tough, man.
Crazy. And then they were like, I read some reports that they're trying to get a wide receiver that they was trying to trade for one. And so I'm thinking like, they're not tanking, right? You're not trying to tank if you're trying to get a guy. They're trying to win. And, I think Dan Campbell being a Sean Payton, coming from that tree, then I can definitely kind of understand like his thought process behind that. Because, But yeah, anyway, that was an aside. It's just an interesting discussion. Like, like Brandon Cooks, he had to comment about the Texans. And, if you're a veteran player, and he's a veteran player, I think he got drafted in 16 or 15 or something like that. And, 14. From his perspective, it's like, man, I don't want to be, dealing with this. Get me up out of here. So, but it's interesting. So, but I'm with you. I don't think it really says much about the Saints that nothing happened during the trade deadline. Part of me did wonder, and I'm not sure if we spoke about this maybe in one of the members' pods, but like, is there any maybe thought in the back of your mind if you're in the Saints front office and you say, okay, well, we don't know who's the quarterback for next year, right? And the guy who may have been it just tore his ACL. So how long is that recovery, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Do we want to, just stay competitive, right? We got a good team. We'll probably get to the playoffs, but Super Bowl, may not be extremely likely. It's just Trevor Simeon and Taysom Hill. Do you maybe just say, okay, well, before we would have gave up a third if we were really trying to go all in, but in this year we just kind of took a step back and, kind of reload. So it's not like it's not being all the way in like you've previously been.
They already gave up a third for this team.
Yeah, that's true. Well, you had a quarterback at the time, but I think they
were still, I think, in as much of a certain or on. I don't think the level of certainty really was that much different at that time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you don't think the quarterback injury had anything at all to do with them maybe not pulling the trigger?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I just think that it probably wasn't a deal that made sense. That there probably wasn't enough draft compensation to, like, let's say the OBJ thing got serious. I mean, I think there's probably a limit, regardless of who the quarterback is, where it just doesn't make sense to give up that much for, a guy that's.
I don't know how good he is anymore.
I think he's still pretty good, but I mean, there's a limit to what you should probably go all in. Like, I just don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if it makes sense. Like, regardless if it's 2018 Breeze and he's the missing piece. I guess if you're that close, maybe you get a little bit dumber about what you're willing to do.
I think that's what I was saying. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like,
unless you're, the Rams can make a move. The Cardinals can make a move. Like, they're that close. The Saints aren't quite there, but I don't know that there's a level of recklessness that you just don't cross, period. And
like last year, they was trying to trade. That Jadeveon Clowney trade was like crazy. They were doing like they were clearly all in on, like that trade. And that's why I'm thinking like, I think if they were like close and they feel like their team was like super on the, the brink of maybe being one of those Super Bowl teams, I could definitely see them saying, look, Beckham Jr., maybe he's not who he used to be. And I think he's probably still a good player. I just don't know if he's the same player. I wanted to clarify that. But yeah, I can see that being the case. Like, okay, we'll give you the pick that you wanted because we feel like it's worth the
I don't think their actions need to tell us that they don't think that they're like almost assured to be in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like, we
That's
know
fair.
that. They know
That's
that. Everybody knows it. There's a scenario where maybe you get lucky and you look, they've beat enough good teams that it's not
Nick Foles, man. Nick Foles.
right, or Trent Dilfer. It's kind of funny.
Man,
like, Trent Dilfer. I mean, so I mean it's not out of the realm of possibility. It's just not as much of a likelihood as it used to be.
Yeah. No, I'm with it. I'm with it.
Man, and who even knows going for we don't know that either of these quarterbacks are going to be. You don't know if Simeon, a team game plans for him, how much different that's going to be. He looked good coming off the bench, going against a defense that was prepared to play a deep throw passer. Now they're against a guy that has a completely opposite approach. A team preparing for him, you don't know what that looks like. Don't know what the offense looks like. Well, we do kind of know what the offense looks like.
Yeah,
with
I think we
Taysom.
kinda,
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's tough to say. Oddly enough, and we talked about this on the last pod. Like I don't know if losing the quarterback changes my win total. I don't know if it does.
I understand exactly where you're coming from. I think, I don't think this offense is quarterback proof because that'd be a wild statement. But I think when you look at this offense, I think there's a bar, right, and there's a floor to what I think you're going to get, right. I think you got to be really bad to go lower than that floor. So I get what you're saying. I kind of feel like the Saints are close to the floor. Like I think they're definitely you fall another foot or so you definitely down there. But yeah, I think the offense is what it is, and Sean Payton spoke about it. I think it was in the post game press conference. He was like, "Look, our offense." Or maybe it was the day after the coaches show, when the interview after the game, the day after the game, where he was saying basically like, offense didn't change, right? We ran what we ran, and that's how we're going to play. So I definitely think you'll see some things differently. I think you'll see more passes over the middle, more easy offense, things like that. But I think the offense that we've seen all year is going to be the offense that we continue to see.
Yeah, probably to some extent. I mean, the way they attack those plays is different. We've talked about that before. They
Yep.
run a lot of the same concepts, and Jameis is just much more aggressive with them.
Yeah.
I think they run some, you know, 2-route combos and stuff like that, like to set up shot plays. I think if Simeon were your QB, some of that would go away. We saw those plays become more in vogue last year when Taysom was the quarterback too. They tried to set up like some more stuff down the field.
Yeah.
And then when Breeze actually came back from his injury, they still ran some of the stuff, and he actually hit on a couple of them, unlike those first couple games back, which indicated there was a little bit of health coming back from that injury, and then it fell off again like really, really quickly.
But
like if Simeon's the quarterback, I think it's much more. I think like the way I would describe it is like, let's say Breeze never got hurt and he hung on for like 5 more years, and like him and Brady are in this weird standoff, and like there was just like a natural deterioration without like the injury type of deterioration. I think that's kind of like the level of offense you could get from Simeon. Like in he could operate it, protect the ball, get through it. You don't have a lot of mistakes, and that's fine. But I don't know, man. I think they still win probably 10 games. I would probably pick all the games the same way going into this. And look, something could happen this week where it blows up that thought process and there's much more negativity coming out of this game. But we've just seen Sean win with all these quarterbacks, and we've seen these quarterbacks go other places and maybe not be as good as people thought they were. So I don't know. It's just his track record. And it might be like a dumb thought, but like his track record almost makes you feel like if he has a guy around long enough, he'll find a way to win with them with this team behind him.
So we did this we did this exercise probably a couple of weeks ago, and you bringing it up makes me think about it. So right now the Saints are 5-2, right? So I'm gonna go game for game again.
They got 10 games left.
Yeah, 17 game season. So let's go Falcons. Win, right? I think we both say a win for the Falcons. Let's see. Win. Titans.
I think they win that game now. No Derrick Henry.
Where are they playing?
They're playing in Tennessee.
Nashville.
I think they can cover their guys. I think they can tackle Adrian Peterson. I think they're going to win that game.
I think, I'll for the sake of discussion. Right,
I would have went last with Henry, but I'm going one without him.
Yeah. If he wouldn't have got hurt, I would have definitely win. Okay, so Philly.
I think they win that game.
Bills.
I'll give them a loss.
Cowboys.
I'll give them a loss.
Jets.
Win.
Tampa.
I'll give them a loss.
Miami.
Win.
Carolina.
I'll give them a win.
Atlanta.
another one.
So you got them going one. So you had what? So it's 10 games left. You have 1, 2, 3. So you have them going 7-3 going forward.
So they'll probably lose at least one more of those.
Yeah. I think 7-3, 6-4. Yeah, that's probably a fair. So you got them still around 11 or 12 wins. Which
That's going to be tough. Like
that'd
10,
be
I
crazy.
think it's 10 or 11. Like the way it plays out, I go 10 or 11.
Yeah, and this is a crazy loss. And yeah, it's hard to pick these games individually. Like you kind of pick them all, then you take a step back and look at it.
Yeah,
So
because you're going to win a game against Tampa Bay and lose a game to the Giants, and weird things are going to happen. But I think, man, 5-5 the rest of the way. It's tough to see. I'll go 6-4 the rest of the way.
I mean, they went 5-5 for the rest of the way. They're still 10-7, which is
It's a playoff berth.
that's a
7 teams get in now.
well, I don't know, man. This NFC is like wow right now, though. The NFC is like brutal.
There's a lot of separation, man, between the haves and the have-nots. I think.
Yeah. They're in the upper tier, the bottom of the top of the. Well, I guess they're at the top now because you got the Rams, the Packers, you got the Cardinals who are at the top, the Cowboys. Those are all 1-loss teams, and 2-loss teams is the Saints and Tampa Bay, and then you start to get into the teams like the Vikings and stuff. So there is a gap between those 2-loss teams and those everyone else, right? So yeah, I can definitely see what you're saying. So your expectations for this team, even with the loss of Jameis Winston, even with even with the loss of even with Jameis Winston getting hurt for the rest of the season, even with them not making a move on a wide receiver, even with Mike Thomas coming back when, who knows when, do you still, I'm just trying to get a feel for when, if you think that the level of expectation changes or not.
I think. Look, if you look at the standings, they are the 7 seed is 4-4. They're 4-4 right now. So I think the haves and the have-nots are very clear. I think 10 wins easily gets you into the playoffs. Carolina is the 7 seed right now, so that looks to be very, very easy path to get in with the way they're sitting right now, as long as they don't completely implode. So I think the playoff seed is.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. All right. We got some technical difficulties going on. Chat. Guys, can you hear? Can you hear Nick or me? No audio, no sound. Nick, your mic is clipping. Guys, can you hear me? So they can hear me. They can't hear Nick. All right, yeah, they can hear me, but they can't hear you.
Testing.
Hey, there you go. Welcome back. Oh,
I'm
nope.
just talking, and we can edit that out.
Yeah. I think whatever
yeah,
happened, it felt like you're back.
Yeah, so if you look at the standings, Carolina right now is 4-4. So it looks like a team that has 5 wins right now is positioned extremely well to get into the playoffs. I mean, I think 10 wins easily gets you in there. If they're at 4-4, I mean, some other teams would have to get pretty hot to make 10 wins impossible task to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I'm with you now. And I'm looking at the standings. It's like you see the Saints, Bucs, and the Panthers. They're both, they're all kind of grouped together. But you look at these other conferences. The Vikings are 3-4. The rest of those teams are not even worth talking about. Chicago and the Bears. The 49ers are 3-4. Seahawks the same. The Rams and the Cardinals are at the top. And then in the NFC East, you only really have one competitive team when you talk about the Cowboys. And so, yeah, it definitely. Yeah, I definitely think that
the things have set up really, really well for a team to have confidence that could possibly have Trevor Simeon starting at quarterback next week.
man, that's just what's going on this year, man. This is wild. This is wild. So, what are you hearing on Taysom? How do you think that quarterback situation plays itself out going forward? Do you? I don't know. Phillip Rivers is like he over there sending that "What you doing, Texas, son?" Taysom is like, man, my time is here. God's plan. Simeon is, he got his mullet. He thinks it's his job. Like, what do you think? What do you think happens with this situation going forward?
I would be intrigued by Phillip Rivers, honestly. Like,
Me
and that's
too.
just me as a person. That's not me as a reporter saying that. Like, I would just be intrigued by that. I thought he played pretty well last year. He was like, what, 68% passing. His
Yeah.
the interception ratio was really good. You
Mm-hmm.
put him on this team with these guys, and I think that
Call
they're
him. I would call him and let him, maybe let him
let him
join for
chill
a
for a
couple of
month.
weeks. Yeah, let him sit
Let
on
him
the
put him on the
team.
practice squad.
Exactly. Let him get up to speed, learn the offense, and then
If he does, he does. If he doesn't, he doesn't.
yeah.
I would. Yeah, maybe by December you got a better option and
Yeah. And
just evaluate it.
I'm not saying bring him in to start. I'm saying bring him in to see if that's a better option than
Yeah,
what you have. Right. You
yeah, it
don't have
doesn't
to
hurt at
play
all.
him.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
I would be intrigued by that, but
I would be intrigued.
I don't think they'll do it, but I'd be intrigued by it.
If they do it, then what is it? What is it saying to you? Like, what would that
It's
to me? It
saying
means
it's saying that your starting quarterback just got hurt, and this guy that's a potential Hall of Famer that can still play wants to be on your team.
yeah, I'm with you. And I see
Like, who
someone
cares?
said,
Like, if he's better than the other guys, then he's better than them. And if he never takes a job, then that says good things about them. So don't let
that's
him take
true.
your job.
That's
And
fair.
that's you control what it says about you. Who cares what it says about him on paper? Like, you can change that narrative in reality. Someone comes for my lunch, I don't let him take the lunch. It's my lunch. And
Yeah,
that's
that's
your
true.
job. If
I
you're
mean,
hungry, you're gonna eat.
right, and you owe it to the guys in the locker room to win. Right, we were
Yep.
just having that conversation earlier. Right, this is it's not personal. It's definitely not personal. So yeah, I would do it. I would do it. And like I said, I'm not saying start him. I'm saying bring him
Yeah,
in
put
and
him on
see
the
if he's
practice
better.
squad.
Yeah, see if he's better than what you guys see. I saw someone say it. He turns the ball over a lot, and
Does
I
he?
think I would say they just had a guy who had the same issues, and then he got into this offense, and he was 13 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. So,
Man, he ended up with with really good numbers. He
Rivers did last year.
no, Jameis.
Oh my gosh, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the completion percentage was a little bit lower than I would like it, but you look at the passer rating, the interceptions, the touchdowns. I mean, he wasn't making turnover worthy plays that like he was kind of at a higher rate at the end of the at the beginning of the season. That slowed down. I, I don't know, man. I was kind of I was Jameis optimistic, you know, going into this game.
I'm looking at like Rivers' numbers right now. Like, when he played on good teams, he didn't turn the ball over a lot. Like last year, they're 11-5. He had 11 picks. The year before, he's on a team they're 5-11. He had 20 picks. The year before that, he's on a 12-4 team and had 12 picks. The year before that, he's on a team with a winning record. He has 10
Mhm.
picks. The year before that, they lose 11 games. 21 picks. I think that there's probably somewhat of a correlation to the guy trying to throw his team back into games and the level of risk that he's willing to take.
I think Saints
Versus
fans should be really familiar with that. I mean, Drew had some high interception years when you were trying to, you got Bobby Richardson rushing the passer, right? And that's not a dig at him, but he just doesn't. He's not a pass rusher, and you got him playing defensive end. So, I think that's what you get when you have a team who, I mean, you feel like you got to score 35 a game to win, and you even hear quarterbacks talking about that. So,
I mean,
yeah, I
again,
mean,
I don't think they'll do it, but I would. It's intriguing. I mean, it's
I don't put
intriguing.
I don't put anything past Sean Payton.
It's intriguing.
I'm
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I
it's
don't
something
put.
that Philip Rivers says, "Hey, like, I'm interested." It's something.
You got to talk
I mean,
about it.
yeah, you got to talk about it.
You got to talk about it. And
You
I
got
think
3 guys on the team that didn't beat out Jameis Winston. So I mean,
that's true. That's true.
it's
That's
not like
true.
insulting to anybody. Like, Philip Rivers is maybe arguably better than
Hall of
Jameis.
Fame. I
Yeah,
mean, I think he's a potential Hall of Fame. I think he's the best quarterback that I've probably seen. That I'm probably forgetting someone. I was too young for Marino, even though I played with him in Tecmo Bowl. But yeah, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, okay, what's a better quarterback that never won a Super Bowl? And he's the first name that comes to mind. Like, I think he's a much better quarterback than Eli Manning was. I think he's a much better quarterback. So, moving on, I do think that at this point in the season, if I'm Sean Payton, all options are on the table. I guess that's how I'll put it, right? Because like I said, I think you have a playoff team and you owe it to those guys in the locker room to be as competitive as you can be. And so, and then Taysom, you still can use him, right? And I guess that's a question that I have for you. With the concussion, that Taysom had, and he was out. I mean, this is 3 weeks. That was 3 weeks for a concussion, so that's a significant amount of time. Do you think they continue to use him, in the way like say you start Simeon, right? Are you still going to use Taysom the same way? Or if you start Taysom, I think his legs are part of what makes him intriguing as a quarterback. But now that he had that concussion, like maybe you have to dial it back a little bit. So how do you approach that?
I mean, I think if he plays, he plays, and he's got to play how he plays. And if he doesn't play how he plays, he's probably putting himself at even greater risk for injury, because now you're trying to work against instinct and everything like that. And I think he just has to do what he does. And that concussion wasn't on like a quarterback type play, So
Yeah.
that's one thing there. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. I mean, I would have to think that Taysom has the inside track. Just
I do
guessing
too.
on it on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
The way everyone guessed last year, myself included, on the Tuesday before, ended up being wrong. So what
Mhm.
seems to be logical now might not be how it
Yeah.
actually ends up. But is intriguing as Simeon made that game. I mean, I think Taysom still has to have the inside track. He battled well. I think that's just the position that he's been in, and it's entirely possible that they change course and do something different. But if I'm guessing, I think that he has that job. And really, the one thing, it's still the one thing for me. And I think if you look at the way Jameis played when pressure came, his feel for it, and the take off and go ability, if Taysom can just figure out how to do that, I think that he becomes a much more dangerous quarterback. And
Yeah, I
that's
agree.
kind of the way you roll forward. And if he
Yeah.
can do that, I don't even think it's not even a conversation. I mean, I think that's the one thing he needs to do. All right, Sean scheme. Did he get the guys open? Nope. All right, I'm going. And that's it. I mean, I think that's all it needs to be. And if he does that, I think he's a really,
He's an intriguing
whatever his
option
level's
for.
at, it's a little bit higher.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I
Exactly.
think that he
And
can give you comparable play. I mean, really, I honestly do. I think he can give you comparable play if he does that.
yeah, no, I agree. I think, I do remember last year, like Taysom, like when the pocket was clean, and he put the ball where it should be. Now, that's one thing I explicitly remember him doing. Like I was surprised by his accuracy. I'm like, wow, okay, well, he can throw the ball a little bit better, in the short and the intermediate areas. So I thought that's something that it was a positive for his play last year. That's that's a strength of his. I don't think he has a really good feel for the pocket. I think that's something that we'll have to see how it works. I don't know last year if he was trying to prove that he's a pocket passer, but I think he needs to take advantage of his legs. I think it's okay. And the last thing I'll say about him is, I think that this team has a running personality, right? The foundation of this offense is the run game. And I think if he can channel his
It has to be.
if he can just figure it out, like how to
It has to
run.
be a running personality.
That's it, man. But he fits into it, right? I mean,
Well, yeah.
you got to defend the quarterback run every single play, and I think I'm not saying you're the Ravens, because you're not, but like you're competitive because you have a defense that can keep you in every single game. You can scheme the run game. You got Mark and Kamara now, and Traquan Smith was a good blocker on the edge. Adam Troutman's a good blocker. I think if they can figure that part out, then I think you can be just as competitive, right? And I think that's the negative on Taysom, is that if he knew how to run, then I think he would be a much much more appealing option at the quarterback position for the Saints.
Sean wasn't having it when I asked him this, but I am curious, like, if the approach this year is different than when Breeze went out. Like, Breeze goes out, it's short term. There's only so much
Mhm.
more you can change things. And
Yeah,
I do wonder if this year, like, say you go to Taysom this year, I do wonder if you can do more. I wonder if you can tailor more to him, make it fit him better. You
mm,
add more running stuff, or change some of the play design.
yeah,
At least maybe come up with a handful of things that, even if it's 5-10 plays, and you install them specifically for Taysom, and that's 5-10 things that maybe suit him a little bit better and take
yeah,
more advantage of his uniqueness. I do wonder how much of the offense changes, because it has to be a little bit of a different approach. It has to be a little bit more freeing, I guess, in the sense of this is what we can do with this guy, and
yeah,
it makes sense to put the effort into it, because he's he's the guy. And I'm sure they were designing a couple of plays every game for him last year, and just going through it for a whole season. Now you design 3 for this week, 2 next week, for the game after that, and before you know it, you got 25 plays that are new and fit him, and you can roll with some of that stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with it going forward. Again, I don't. They could do anything with this, but it would seem to me like Taysom would probably have
inside track.
Yeah, I'm going to be surprised if we go out there and we see 7 behind 15. I'll be a little bit surprised by it. I wouldn't be shocked by it. But just I thought he kept it competitive in the camp through the preseason.
Yeah.
If the decision had gone the other way, I don't necessarily know that it would have been like a mind-blowing event. He competed really well, and I think he probably should get that chance. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, I think. I mean, Sean Payton even said like, hey, if Taysom was healthy, then Simeon would have still been the backup for that game, and then the next game, Taysom Hill would have been the starter. So that's what he said, and I don't really have any reasons, to not believe him. So I definitely, I'm with you. I think Taysom will be, if he's healthy, right, health pending, that he'll be the guy that's under center this upcoming week against the Falcons. So
the only thing that Simeon did, and that could lead you to think that maybe there's a chance, is that he got easier offense in some areas of the field that I think that they haven't done. And
it was obvious too. Like you saw, it was like, oh wow, just simple pass play.
Go. They have some quick game. Yeah,
easy. Yeah, it was a quick game. Exactly. That's what
Taysom did some of that last year too. I mean, but I think Simeon's a little bit better at that than probably both of those. Definitely better at it than Winston was, and probably better at it than Taysom was in just that one game. And I think he had a good feel for how to manipulate and change his arm angles up and get passes around the rush. And specifically, there were some plays that the screen pass from 2 weeks ago is a good example. Like Jameis not doing that, and then there's a play kind of where Simeon manipulated the pocket and then like hit like a sidearm pass to get the ball in there. Yeah, so there were some things that he did, and that was the one thing that maybe you look at. But we talked about it on the post-game pod. I mean, he got bailed out on a handful of plays. I don't know what it would look like in a start. I know what Taysom looks like in a start. I know what Taysom looks like in a start against the Atlanta Falcons. And honestly, if his little stretch had ended after 3 games last year and he never went to Philly, the whole opinion of him and the fan base is completely different.
Going into the season, at least.
Yeah, because the Denver game was pushed aside as like this thing that didn't happen. The 2 Atlanta games were really good. And then the Philly game was kind of like, all right, some of the stuff you saw in the Denver game was real. This was, it was too much of a mixed bag, and people were down on him at that point. But if it ended and Breeze came back a week sooner, the whole perception of him is completely different within the fan base.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, at least, like I said, at least coming into the season, it would have been like, oh yeah, well he was 3-0 as a starter, so
he's an intriguing option. Yes,
right,
yeah,
exactly.
That's what it would have been. Yeah,
yep. I just really, I really want to see. I really wish I had more confidence in his best strength, which is his ability to run. Right, I think that's the one thing, because I think a running Taysom offense probably has as much or more, potential as the Jameis offense has, right? With the guys that they have on this team, right? And I'm prefacing it with the fact that the current weapons who are available, right? I think if you had better pass targets, I think Jameis ceiling its skills with those weapons. But if you have guys who are just limited, as receivers, then I think you can, like I said, a running quarterback, especially on a team with a good defense and 2 good running backs now, I definitely think, if you can channel that, right? And I want to see a Taysom package. I want to see, zone reads. Like I think that's what the type, I'm Kyle Shanahan, backfield movement.
I don't think any of that's a problem. The problem is the unscripted runs. Like basically, I want to see Taysom. Oh, they're playing cover 1. Everyone has their back to me. I'm going, and I'm gotten them.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's where Taysom becomes dangerous. It takes away coverage you can play. And Taysom running, look, we saw Jameis do it, and it's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-yard gains.
Yeah,
Taysom's a freaking tank, and if he gets into the open field and you don't have 7 guys crashing down on him, and he's gotten you, and before you know, like he's past the linebackers before you know it on an
Yeah.
unscripted run, and now he's just running over safeties. And I
Yep.
mean, there's
It's
a
something.
lot
It's
there. There's a lot
potential
of meat
there,
on the bone there. Yeah,
and
for
he's
whatever reason, it just hasn't happened. I don't
he's
get it. It's the most baffling thing that I just cannot figure it out. Like, just go, man, just go.
yeah, and like I said, and he's accurate in the short to intermediate area,
Mhm.
right? Which that's the area where Jameis struggled at times, right? You always see Jameis at the start of the game miss a couple of short throws, right? And
That was the
you know,
weirdest thing.
yeah, I never got it. I would say that's boy, he threw a dime to Traquan this week, though. Oh
He
my
did,
gosh,
but
that
he would
throw
come out
was
every game, and it was just kind of
crazy.
like,
Yeah, he
I don't
come
know if
out
it was
slow
I don't know if it was adrenaline or what, but like he came out odd every game. Yeah.
every game. Yep, exactly. And so
Some of
just
the play calling didn't help. Traquan stopping around.
yeah,
Like there were things, but yeah, I mean his accuracy on passes early in game was every single, like it seemed like every single game. But that might be recency bias, but at least the last two he came out and was just like,
yeah. I
I
mean, he
don't
had the
get
one
this.
this week to Callaway that he put it on his wrong shoulder. I mean, you would see. And listen, we're not. This is not a Jameis Basham session. You guys know that, but
Yeah, and like
we
Simeon was leading guys into yards after the catch. I mean, there was just an obvious difference on those short
exactly,
passes that
exactly.
it wasn't just all receiver issues. I mean, I think we saw it, but there was a little bit when it was a two-way street
It
on
went
some
both
of those
ways.
issues. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm interested. I hope it's Taysom over Simeon. I think you have a little bit of a higher ceiling. I know people think of Taysom as this Swiss Army knife, but I think he can be more of a weapon at the quarterback if he knows how to use his legs. Right. I am worried about his deep ball. Like if he can push the ball downfield. I know you're not as worried as I am, but I just don't think he's good at it. I think he's a pusher. And I think that's something that they need to be careful with because those balls, man, they just once they get to a certain point, it's like someone just blow it down like a wind gush just knocks the ball out the air. So we got a question on the screen. Do you think the fear of a repeat concussion would prevent Sean from calling run plays for Taysom? That's kind of
I
what we
mean,
just
yeah,
was
I think
talking
you just
about.
can't play him at that point. If you're afraid of a
Yep.
repeat concussion, like you can't play him because if Taysom can't run, what is he? And either role, like that's part of his game. So if there's that fear, I think at that point you have to go with the other guy. I mean, it's a bigger issue than football at that point. I mean,
Yeah.
you gotta protect this man's future as a human being.
Yeah.
And I think
CTE and all that other stuff. I mean, come on.
I mean, you just got to move away from that at that point if that's the fear.
Yeah, and that's a dangerous. I mean, I think that's just a dangerous way to approach it, right? If and I think Coach Payton, he was talking about those injured guys coming back from injury. I remember him saying, "Hey, when you're on the field and you're playing. Like you can't be like I have to use you like I would normally use you once you come back from injury. So we'll put you on the field when you're ready, but when you're out there, you're out there." So I think that's probably the approach that they're going to take with him is if he's on the field, then he's a football player, and that hitting is part of the game, and that's something that something that that you're going to have to deal with. So, but I will say, regardless of what happens with the team going forward at the quarterback position and offensively, Mike Thomas, I have no expectations of him playing this year personally. I think whatever you get from that situation is just like lagniappe. But I think
So you
going
talking
forward,
about Mike?
yeah, Mike, yeah,
Yeah,
Mike.
I'm not expecting anything soon.
Yeah, me neither, or anything. Period. Soon or at, I'm not expecting anything. And if, like I said, if he plays, it's good. If he don't, then they're 5-2 without him. So,
Yeah, the tone on that stuff is taking a 180. Like when it was coming up on the end of the pup thing, like there was some optimism, and like I'm not hearing optimism lately.
yeah,
So I don't really know what's going on, but it's just using common sense. It just feels like it's going to be a little while.
yeah, it feels like that chapter of I don't know. I don't want to speculate on it, but it just I don't know how
Yeah,
much.
I'm not at like a finality situation, but I just think it's going to be a while.
Yeah. Okay.
I could be wrong though. I mean, look, this Mike could decide tomorrow that you know what, I'm tired of everybody talking about me. I'm coming back, and I'm going to play through whatever's going on, and you just
Yeah.
don't know. So I mean, I'm not even trying to. I'm just saying, based on, I'm not reporting anything. It's just based on common sense and context clues, and it just feels like it's going to be a little bit.
Yeah, it's fair to assume that 13 won't be on the field anytime soon. So, and I think with that situation being as it is in the quarterback, I just think the defense, they just have to continue to carry this team. I think that's how it's been all year. You can make a case that that's how it's been for the last couple of years, that this has been a defensive team. Excuse me. And yeah, I just think that that's what you're going to have to deal with. And so I think continued health is going to be important. And, Onyemata's back. It may take him some, I didn't really super feel his impact this game. Listen, he ain't played football in weeks, and that stuff takes time. It takes time to get up to speed. But I think he has to continue to kind of work his way back in, and I think that the defense kind of has to be the catalyst to carry this team going forward. And I think that's the health on that side of the ball is going to be as important as anything. I think that's the absolute key to this season now.
I agree.
Yep. All right, man. Well, that's all I got.
That's it. That just ended it.
That's it, man. When we get when you and I have like that 2.5 seconds of silence, I'm like, all right, there we go.
All right.
There we go. So guys, chat, thank you guys for joining us here. Make sure you guys check out Daniel Sant CPA. I'm about to give him a call because I need to figure out how to allocate this extra 2 cents per week that Nick gave me. So, I'm giving my guy a call. He can get me right. NewOrleans.Football /subscribe. Make sure you guys go there. Make sure you guys support. This is how Nick feed his family. This is how Nick pays me 6 cents a month. This is how all this stuff is possible. The website, the podcast, I know you guys been noticing like the little upgraded social media content. So everything is all about getting better. It's all about making NewOrleans.Football pretty much the only place that you need to go to for anything Saints related, football, podcasts. Of course, it's all football, but podcasts, articles, all that stuff. So thank you guys for your support. If you know someone that, is not subscribed, give them a holler. Tell them about all the good stuff that we're doing here and, send them to NewOrleans.Football /subscribe. So with that said, thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next week. We out.